My billionaire ice queen fiancée actually cuckolded me. Her pregnancy test report was exposed at our engagement banquet. The guests erupted in chaos. My father was about to flip the table on the spot, demanding whose bastard was in her belly. All eyes suddenly snapped to me, the worthless playboy. Their gazes held mockery and contempt. Some were gloating, but most had that look of finally, your turn to suffer. I was stunned, then ecstatic. I pointed at my own nose and shouted with righteous indignation, "Why are you all staring at me? If she's pregnant, it's not mine. I'm calling off this engagement." The moment I said that, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from my ice queen fiancée. She said, "Are you sure the child really isn't yours? Also, the way you begged me last night was adorable, so I've decided you're sleeping with me again tonight." The words in the text were like poison needles stabbing into my eyes. The ecstasy on my face instantly froze. Last night? I was clearly drinking alone at a bar last night. How could I have been with her? My mind was a mess. Countless fragments flashed by, but none could form a complete picture. While I was dazed, an icy hand gripped my arm. It was Gu Qinghan. She stood beside me, swept her emotionless gaze across the room, and spoke in a quiet voice. Yet every word reached everyone's ears clearly. The farce is over. The child is Hee-chang's. The engagement continues. With one sentence, she sentenced me to death. My father was so furious he almost passed out. He pointed at me and yelled, "You unfilial son." But old Master Gu remained as steady as a mountain. He just gave Gu Qinghan a meaningful look and then fell silent. I was suffocated by Gu Qinghan's overwhelming aura. I tried to shake off her hand. "Let go of me. What nonsense are you spouting?" She ignored me and only gave a signal to the bodyguards behind her. Two men built like black towers immediately stepped forward and grabbed me from both sides. I was like a chick caught by an eagle, completely powerless to resist. "Gu Qinghan, you crazy woman. What are you doing?" I was forcibly dragged out of the banquet hall and shoved into a black Rolls-Royce. The car door locked, cutting off all outside noise. "Give me my phone." I reached out to snatch it, but she just raised her hand, and the bodyguard beside me immediately clamped my wrist. I couldn't move. She took my phone, turned it off, and tossed it aside. I was completely cut off from the outside world. "What the hell do you want? What makes you say the child is mine?" I roared, trying to mask my panic with shouting. Gu Qinghan slowly unbuttoned the first button of her suit jacket. She tilted her head slightly, revealing her fair neck and collarbone. There was a clear, ambiguous bite mark. She pointed at the mark and asked me in a flat tone, "Don't remember?" My heart jolted violently. In my memory, there was indeed a vague, soft touch, and a faint taste of blood. Could it be? Impossible. How could I have done that? I must have blacked out from drinking. The car drove all the way to a villa at the top of the mountain. The servants at the entrance bowed in unison. "Hello, CEO Gu. Hello, Mr. He. Mr. He? When did I become the master of this place?" I was ushered into the villa, and the door slowly closed behind me. I rushed to the window and realized all the windows were specially made. I couldn't open them at all. This place was like a luxurious prison. Gu Qinghan followed me in. Her high heels clicked against the floor. Every step felt like it was stepping on my heart. She closed in step by step, until my back hit the ice-cold wall, with nowhere to retreat. She raised her hand. Her icy fingertips traced my Adam's apple. "Don't waste your energy." Her voice was soft, but carried an irresistible pressure. "From now on, everything about you belongs to me." Every hair on my body stood on end. This woman was a devil. Late at night, I lay in an unfamiliar bed, tossing and turning. The door was gently pushed open. Gu Qinghan walked in wearing a silk robe, her slender figure faintly visible in the moonlight. She placed a document on my bedside table. I glanced at it. It read, "Pre-pregnancy nutrition and health guide. For the sake of our child, take good care of your body." After saying that, she turned and left, leaving me alone in the darkness, drowning in endless humiliation and torment. The next day, when I woke up, Gu Qinghan had already gone to the company. On the dining table was a lavish breakfast. A butler in a tailcoat said respectfully to me, "Mr. He. Please have breakfast." I didn't move. "Where's my bank card?" I asked. The butler remained expressionless. CEO Gu said, "All your cards have been temporarily frozen." My heart sank. He was going to put me under house arrest. "CEO Gu has prepared a supplementary card for you. It's on your bedside table," the butler added. "The limit is unlimited." I let out a cold laugh. Trying to buy me off with money? He's underestimating me, Hee-chang. I picked up that black card and headed straight for the most luxurious mall in the city. I was going to express my rebellion in the most wasteful way possible. I bought a bird made of pure gold. Because it looked the most expensive. I bought 100 identical antique vases and lined them up in the living room, pushing the limits of trypophobia. I even rented out a small art exhibition, bought every painting, and had the gallery send them to the villa. In one afternoon, I spent 9 figures. I wanted him to know that Hee-chang, was nothing but a wasteful good-for-nothing. If he married me, he could just wait for bankruptcy. In the evening, I sat in the living room piled high with luxury goods, waiting for Gu Qinghan to come back and blow up. She came back, saw the mess everywhere, and just calmly swept her gaze over it. No anger, no interrogation. She walked over to the golden cow, reached out and tapped it. Good taste, she said flatly. Like it? Buy more. Use my main card, that one has no limit. A lump of air stuck in my chest, nearly suffocating me. My rebellion, in her eyes, was like a child playing house. A crushing wave of defeat hit me. I was choked up. So I started an even more extreme method, a hunger strike. I wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink, and locked myself in my room. I thought she would worry, would come and persuade me. Instead, she directly called the family doctor. 2 bodyguards pinned me down on the bed, and the doctor expertly stuck a needle into the back of my hand. The cool nutrient solution trickled through the 4-line, slowly entering my body. Gu Qinghan stood by the bed, looking down at me from above. If you starve yourself and ruin your health, how will we have a second child? Her voice was cold, without a trace of warmth. All my resistance was like punching cotton. Powerless and ridiculous. I was completely desperate. One night, while she was taking a bath, I sneaked into her study. I wanted to see if there was any clue that could help me escape. Then, in a locked drawer, I found a folder. I pried it open, and what was inside chilled me to the bone. In there was everything about me, from my kindergarten scribbles to my elementary school report cards full of failing grades, from the cringy love letters I wrote in adolescence, to reports on every failed investment project of mine. Even my peanut allergy and where I got drunk for the first time were all recorded in perfect detail. She was like a shadow lurking beside me, spying on every corner of my life. I grabbed the folder, rushed into the bathroom. She had just finished showering, a towel wrapped around her hair still dripping. Why did you investigate me? I threw the folder in front of her. Paper scattered all over the floor. She picked up a self-criticism letter I wrote in elementary school, glanced at it, then looked at me calmly. Is there a problem with getting to know my husband? I was infuriated by her self-righteous attitude. We're just a marriage of convenience. What right do you? Not anymore, she interrupted me. From the day of the engagement banquet. You're my man. A few days later, she took me to a private party. Her friends were all big shots in the business world. The way they looked at me was filled with undisguised contempt and scorn. In their eyes, I was just a pretty boy, riding on a woman's coattails. A man walked over with a wine glass, patted my shoulder, and smiled maliciously. Master, he is truly fortunate to catch the eye of our CEO Gu. Make sure to serve her well from now on. I looked at her cold, aloof profile, and a strange feeling suddenly surged inside me. Humiliation, but also a hint of inexplicable vanity. Just when I thought I was going to be tortured by this female demon Gu Qinghan for the rest of my life, a turning point appeared. Gu Qinghan's cousin Zhao Tianyi came to visit me at the villa. Zhao Tianyi was the vice president of the Gu group, outwardly gentle and refined. A well-known gentleman in social circles. As soon as he entered, he dismissed all the servants. Hee-chang, I've wronged you, he sighed. His face was full of sympathy. I watched him warily. What are you doing here? I just can't bear to see Qinghan treat you like this. Zhao Tianyi's eyes were sincere. He was strong-willed since childhood. To get a story, he would do anything. You're just a pawn for him to consolidate his status. A pitiful sacrifice. His words struck every one of my pains. The child in her belly is not yours at all. Zhao Tianyi lowered his voice. Not long before the engagement banquet, she sent a business partner with whom she had a close relationship to Africa. Calculate the timing, it matches perfectly. My heart suddenly leaped. What you said, is it true? I have no reason to lie to you. Zhao Tianyi took a business card from his pocket and handed it to me. This is my private number. If you want to leave here, I can help you. He leaned close to my ear, speaking in a voice only we two could hear. I can help you get her DNA sample and do a paternity test. As long as you prove the child is not yours, you can regain your freedom. Freedom? Those two words were like a lightning bolt, splitting the dark clouds above my head. I looked at the business card in my hand. My heart pounded fiercely. This might be my only lifeline. That night, Gu Qinghan came back very late, looking exhausted. After she fell asleep, her brows were tightly furrowed, as if having a nightmare. In her sleep, she turned over, mumbling something indistinctly. I leaned in to listen. Don't go, don't go. Her voice carried a hint of fragility and pleading, completely unlike the daytime. Domineering and icy queen. I was stunned. This was the first time I saw her with her guard down. She wasn't that annoying, even. A little pitiful. The next morning, when I came downstairs, I saw her taking strong medication. Her face was as pale as paper, her forehead covered in cold sweat. The butler held a glass of water, even a little pitiful. The next morning, when I came downstairs, I saw her taking strong medication. Her face was as pale as paper, her forehead covered in cold sweat. The butler held a glass of water. Standing awkwardly beside her, CEO Gu, please drink some water. She waved her hand, unable to say anything, watching her in pain. I felt a surge of irritability. I walked over and took the glass from the butler. I brought it to her lips. Drink some. My tone was stiff. Gu Qinghan was stunned. She looked up, her eyes complex as she stared at me. In her eyes, it was no longer a cold gaze, but something I couldn't understand. There was surprise, confusion, and a trace of warmth. She clutched my hand and took small sips of water. Her complexion eased a bit. Thank you, she whispered. My heart inexplicably skipped a beat. I immediately pulled my hand back. As if burned. Don't misunderstand, I just don't want you to die in front of me. Let out a breath, I turned and left, my steps a bit hurried. Back in my room, I grabbed my hair in frustration. Zhao Tiany's words and Gu Qinghan's vulnerable appearance alternated in my mind. Is she really just using me? Zhao Tiany. Can he really be trusted? For the first time, I fiercely doubted my own judgment. I decided to test Gu Qinghan. That evening, I intentionally opened a bottle of red wine, getting myself half drunk. When Gu Qinghan came back, I was sprawled on the sofa. My eyes glazed. She frowned and came over to help me up. I grabbed her hand and pulled her into my arms. Her body stiffened. In the tone of her text message, I breathed in her ear, the way you begged me last night was also cute. The air instantly froze. The next second, the world spun. She turned the tables and pinned me down hard on the sofa. Her strength was astonishing. Remember now? She looked down at me. Her eyes as dangerous as a leopard staring at its prey. I was half sobered up. She whispered in my ear, her voice like a hook, piecing together bit by bit. 1 week ago, at the Twilight Bar. You burst in, drenched, grabbing my hand and refusing to let go, crying and begging me not to leave. Saying you were the most useless person in the world. My heart sank. That rainy night, that was my college startup project, the scar I thought I had hidden best. My most embarrassing secret. So he knew all along. I thought that night. I was the only one licking my wounds in the corner. Why would I go to him? I couldn't remember at all. I forced the words out. Did we sleep together? He didn't answer directly. Instead, he traced his fingertips over my lips. You kissed me first. This fragmented truth left me even more confused, shame, anger, and a sliver of uncontrollable curiosity, all tangled wildly inside me. Just then, his phone rang. It was an urgent video conference. He let go of me, walked to the desk, and opened his laptop. During the meeting, Gu Qinghan encountered a tricky overseas acquisition case. The opposing legal team was extremely sharp. They had planted countless traps in the contract. Gu Corporation's legal department was in a panic, completely led around by the nose. I was just listening out of boredom, but when I heard the opposing lawyer propose a clause, I frowned instinctively. It was an extremely hidden legal trap, once signed. Gu Corporation would face, it was an extremely hidden legal trap, once signed. Gu Corporation would face astronomical patent litigation. Seeing Gu Qinghan about to agree, I couldn't help but speak up. Don't sign. The entire conference room went silent instantly. Everyone stared at me through the screen, surprised at this suddenly appearing pretty boy. Gu Qinghan turned to look at me, a question in his eyes. I couldn't be bothered to explain to those useless legal advisors. I walked straight to the computer. They exploited the differences between the EU and the North American Free Trade Agreement in intellectual property protection laws to sue you. The claim amount would be at least 10 times the acquisition cost. In a few words, I exposed the opponent's scheme. The foreign lawyer on the video went pale. Gu Corporation's executives looked utterly shocked, as if seeing me for the first time. Gu Qinghan hung up the call. He didn't speak. He just looked at me and walked toward me step by step. His gaze was burning and focused like I had never seen before, filled with intense possessiveness. As if he wanted to devour me whole. "He Chang," he said as he reached me. He raised his hand and touched my face. "How many more surprises are you hiding?" My heart beat. At that moment completely lost control. The person he loved didn't seem to be the useless spendthrift, but the real me. The me I had hidden away. I had to find out the truth. The child. Was it mine or not? I took out the business card Zhao Tianyi had given me and dialed his number. "I've decided. I want a paternity test." Zhao Tianyi's voice sounded very pleased. "A wise choice. You need to get a sample of his DNA, preferably hair with the follicle." After hanging up, I started looking for an opportunity. This had to be done without anyone noticing. Gu Qinghan was too alert. I couldn't afford any mistakes. I set my sights on his bathroom. When he showered, he always shed hair. I waited until he went in to shower. And sneaked in. The bathroom was filled with steam and his unique cold fragrance. Nervously, I searched near the vanity and the drain, my heart pounding like a drum. Just as I was about to find a long strand of hair, the bathroom door suddenly opened. Gu Qinghan, wrapped in a towel, stood at the doorway, his wet hair plastered to his cheeks. "What are you looking for?" I was so startled I nearly jumped, dropping what I had in my hand. "I came in to get a razor." I made up a lame excuse, guilty to the extreme. He raised an eyebrow. A hint of amusement in his eyes. "So impatient?" He stepped closer. Water droplets slid down his skin. He backed me up step by step until I hit the cold wall. "Since when do you get to touch my things?" His breath sprayed onto my face. Hot and humid, I felt like I was suffocating that night. I failed. A few days later, I finally found another chance. In the early morning, I pretended to still be asleep. After he left the room, I immediately sprang up from the bed. I rushed to his pillow and searched carefully. Finally, in the seam of the pillow, I found a few strands of hair with white roots. I carefully wrapped them in a tissue, hid them in my pocket, my heart pounding wildly. Like a thief, according to my agreement with Zhao Tianyi, I placed the sample in a hidden trash can behind the villa's back door. His people would come to take it. After doing all this, I felt completely drained. The days waiting for the results were pure torture, every second an agony. I started to get scared. If the results came back and the child was really mine, what would I do? Accept the truth? Admit that I was completely controlled by this woman? But if the child wasn't mine, the thought alone left my heart feeling empty. These past few days, Gu Qinghan had been getting nicer to me. She no longer spoke to me in that icy tone. She even started trying to cook herself. Although her dishes were either too salty or burnt, terribly unappetizing. I watched her, dressed in her expensive suit, clumsily wrestling with a pile of pots and pans. In the kitchen, flustered and nearly setting her hair on fire. For the first time, a strange urge to protect her welled up in my heart. I walked over, took the spatula from her hand, and said, "Move aside. I'll handle it." She stared at me blankly, a smudge of black stood on her face. She looked a little silly, and a little cute. I actually found myself thinking, if the child really were mine, maybe it wouldn't be that hard to accept. I was startled by my own thought. I must be crazy. The paternity test results came out. Zhao Tianyi handed me a sealed document envelope. "See for yourself." His expression was grim. My hands trembled violently. I tore at the envelope several times before finally ripping it open. I flipped straight to the last page. In the conclusion column, written in black and white, based on DNA analysis results, the submitted samples are excluded from establishing a biological parent-child relationship with the test subject. He Chang. Excluded. It's not mine. The child really isn't mine. A huge wave of ecstasy instantly swept over me. I'm free. I can finally get rid of this crazy woman. Ha 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 ha. I knew it. I knew it. Holding that report, I laughed like a madman. Zhao Tianyi patted me on the shoulder. "Congratulations. He Chang. Now you have solid evidence to confront her." Feeling pardoned, I rushed back to the villa with the report. I kicked open the study door. Gu Qinghan was reading some documents. She was startled by me. "Gu Qinghan? You liar." I slammed the paternity test report onto the desk in front of her. "Open your dog eyes and see clearly, the child isn't mine. How long are you going to keep lying to me?" I was ready for her shock, anger, even hysterics. but she just calmly glanced at the report, without even opening the cover. There was no surprise on her face at all. She stood up, walked to the projector nearby, and pressed the play button. On the wall, a clear surveillance video appeared. In the footage, it was the back door of my villa. A man in a cap took the paper packet from the trash can where I had placed the sample. Then he walked to a street corner and handed it off to another person. The scene switched. The other person opened the packet, dumped out the hair, and replaced it with another sample prepared in advance. The entire switch was captured crystal clear. My blood instantly froze. I stared at her in disbelief. Gu Qinghan wasn't done yet. She pulled out another identical document envelope from her drawer. Biological parent-child relationship established with test subject He Chong. The probability of paternity is 99.99%. 99.99%. My mind went completely blank. A buzzing sound. How could it be? Did you think? On my turf, what could you possibly hide from me? His tone was calm, but it pierced my heart like an ice pick. From the moment you contacted Zhao Tianyi, his people and my people were both watching you. I was completely dumbfounded. I was like a smug little clown. Every move I made was under his surveillance. From heaven to hell only takes a second. Not only did I fail to escape, but He Chong also took advantage of my vulnerability. You're very smart, but you trusted the wrong person. After he said that, he walked over to me and pulled me into his arms, my body rigid with shock and shame. His arms tightened, as if he wanted to crush me into his bones. From now on, trust only me. His voice sounded in my ear, carrying a hypnotic power. I completely lost the strength to resist, left only with the powerless. What did it mean, being protected by him, that eerie sense of security? I broke down. All my plans, all my hopes, vanished into thin air in an instant. I was like a fool, toyed with by him and Zhao Tianyi. Why? I pushed him away, my eyes red as I demanded. You knew everything from the start. Why did you watch me perform like a clown? Did you think it was fun? Gu Qinghan looked at me, and for the first time a complex emotion I couldn't read appeared in his eyes. There was pity, guilt, and also a hint of hidden affection. Because I wanted you to see for yourself who truly cares for you. He finally stopped hiding. He told me that the pregnancy test report at the engagement banquet was no accident at all. It was orchestrated by Zhao Tianyi. He had bribed a maid in the Gu family to accidentally drop the report in front of the reporters. His goal was to ruin Gu Qinghan's reputation and make the Gu family a laughingstock in the business circle. As for that night, he paused, his voice becoming very soft. Can you really not remember anything? He walked toward me, cupped my face, and forced me to look into his eyes. That rainy night was the 3rd anniversary of the day your first company in college was stolen from you by your most trusted friend, working with an outsider, taking all your achievements. It was the first time you showed yourself to the world, but you were hurt beyond repair. From then on, you began to disguise yourself with cynicism. Everyone thought you were a hopeless loser. Only I knew. You were waiting for an opportunity, and also fearing another betrayal. His words were like a sharp knife, cutting open my most unbearable past, exposing my bloody wounds to the air. I trembled all over and couldn't speak. I had never told anyone about these things, not even my parents. How did he know? I've been watching you for a long time, He Chong. From when you won the International Mathematical Olympiad at 16, to when you were 18. And built your first profitable project with your allowance, to your crushing failure at 20, every success of yours, every struggle, I knew about. That night, I deliberately showed up at that bar waiting for you. I knew that every year on that day, you would go there to drown your sorrows. You got dead drunk, treating me as someone you could confide in. Crying like a child, telling me about your resentment and pain. You begged me not to leave. Not to abandon you alone. The gates of my memory burst open with his words. Fragments of that rainy night began to clear in my mind. The burning sensation of alcohol, the cold rain outside the window, and the warmth of his embrace. We really did have sex. His voice interrupted my recollection. It was after you sobered up. You looked at me, your eyes very clear. You were the one who initiated it. But the next morning, when you woke up, the immense pain and shame made you choose to escape. You pretended to remember nothing, hurriedly left, and even left me some money. When he said that, his gaze turned cold. What did you take me for? I felt as if struck by lightning. I staggered back a step. I remembered. I remember everything now. The one who kissed him first, the one who slept with him. It was me. Back then, because of cowardice and fear, I used money to humiliate him. And then ran away. That was also me. You're not worthless. He Chong. He looked at me, word by word. His voice carried weight. You're the most dazzling person I've ever met. I won't allow you to hide behind a mask anymore. Be true to yourself. He knew all my secrets, my deepest scars. Yet he still chose to bind me to him with such a stubborn method. My psychological defenses completely collapsed at that moment. Years of pretense, years of grievances, years of resentment and pain, at this moment, seemed to turn into scalding tears. Flooding out. I was like a child who had been lost for so long, finally finding the way home. I threw myself into his arms, wailing loudly. He didn't say a word. Just held me tightly, gently patting my back. I cried for a very long time. Until I was completely exhausted. I lifted my swollen eyes and looked at him. For the first time, I asked seriously, why me? He lowered his head. Kissed away the tears on my face. Because only I saw the one hidden behind the mask. That radiant you. Zhao Tiany's scheme was exposed, but he didn't stop there. When one plan failed, he devised another. He used Gu Qinghan's pregnancy as leverage, using despicable means to force marriage. The scandal of the engagement partner was anonymously leaked to major media outlets. Instantly, the Gu group was pushed into the eye of the storm. Queen of the business world stops at nothing for power. Headlines like "Dirty Deals Behind Aristocratic Marriages" flooded everywhere. Gu's stock prices plummeted, evaporating hundreds of billions in a single day. Zhao Tiany took the chance to ally with several senior figures in the company. The heir's improper conduct severely damages the company's reputation. As the reason, they demanded an emergency board meeting, preparing to stage a coup to remove Gu Qinghan from her CEO position. Besieged by internal and external troubles, along with severe morning sickness, Gu Qinghan's body soon couldn't hold up. During a high-level meeting, she fainted on the spot and was rushed to the hospital. I waited outside the ward, watching her pale and haggard face. My heart ached as if being cut by a knife. All of this happened because of me. If not for my cowardice and avoidance, Zhao Tiany wouldn't have had so many opportunities to exploit. I can't hide anymore. I took out my phone and dialed my father's number. Dad, I want to use that secret fund under my name. On the other end of the line. My father was silent for a long time. You brat, you finally decided to use it. Over the years, on the surface, I spent money like water, a complete prodigal. But only my father knew that most of the money I squandered was actually used for secret overseas investments. Establishing a large-scale private equity fund. Your wife, protect her yourself. There was a hint of barely noticeable amusement in my father's voice. The next day, at the Gu Group's emergency board meeting, the conference room was filled with the company's directors and senior figures. The atmosphere was heavy. Zhao Tiany sat in the main seat, triumphant. As if he had already secured victory. Qinghan is unwell, so I'll chair today's meeting. Regarding the proposal to remove her from the CEO position, voting begins now. As soon as he finished speaking, the conference room door was pushed open. I walked in, dressed in a sharp suit. Everyone's eyes were on me, some surprised, some contemptuous. Most were just waiting for a good show. In their eyes, I was just a worthless son-in-law. Here to cause trouble. Zhao Tiany didn't even hide his mockery. He Chong. What are you doing here? This is no place for you. Get out. I ignored him and walked straight to Gu Qinghan's seat to sit down. I slammed a document onto the table. Today, I am here as both the representative of the HEIR Group and the legal husband of Gu Qinghan. To attend this meeting, I scanned the room, my gaze icy cold. Who said we need to remove my wife? Zhao Tiany let out a cold laugh. Because his private life is chaotic, causing the company massive losses? Is that so? I opened the laptop in front of me. Connect the projector. Before you accuse others of having a chaotic private life, why don't you take a look at this first? A video appeared on the screen. It was footage of Zhao Tiany messing around with a third-tier celebrity in a hotel room. The content was extremely explicit. Indecent. The conference room filled with the sound of gasps. Zhao Tiany's face instantly turned pale. This is slander. Don't rush. There's more. I released a second piece of evidence. It showed Zhao Tiany using his position to secretly leak company secrets to competitors, along with bank statements and email records proving his profit from it. Zhao Tiany, you secretly transferred company assets for insider trading. With this evidence, you'll rot in jail. I stood up and looked down at him from a position of authority. The Wang Kuzi who used to just follow others around, eating and having fun, was gone. In his place stood a man with sharp eyes and an imposing presence. The entire conference room was dead silent. Everyone was stunned speechless by my sudden reversal. He Chang, today. I will seek full justice for my woman. Zhao Tianyi was caught off guard by my evidence. But he quickly calmed down. Even if I did something wrong, it doesn't change the fact that Gu Qinghan brought negative impact to the company. He looked at the other directors present. Everyone, the stock price of Gushi is still falling. If this continues, all our interests will be harmed. The several directors behind him who were bribed immediately chimed in. That's right. We must immediately dismiss Gu Qinghan and elect a new leader. To stabilize the situation. I agree. Gu Qinghan must step down. Zhao Tianyi's face once again showed a smug smile. He thought he still had a chance to turn things around. I looked at him like I was watching a buffoon. Who said Gushi's stock price would keep falling? I announced a bombshell in front of everyone. The HEIR Group would from today inject unlimited capital into Gushi Group and fully acquire all outstanding shares on the market. To firmly support President Gu Qinghan. As soon as the news came out, the room erupted in uproar. Zhao Tianyi's smile froze on his face. Impossible. How could your father agree? Because the money for the capital injection is my own. I dialed my fund manager's phone number and pressed speakerphone. You can start now. A calm and professional voice came from the phone. Understood, President He. At almost the same time, several directors' phones in the conference room rang. They answered the calls, each looking worse than the last. What? Our company's stock is being maliciously attacked. Quick, immediately organize funds to support the price. It's too late. The other side's firepower is too strong. We can't hold on much longer. Those directors who had just been clamoring to dismiss Gu Qinghan were now all in chaos. Their own backyards were on fire, they couldn't even take care of themselves. I activated my secret fund. On the capital market, I launched a precise devastating attack on the companies under the names of those directors who supported Zhao Tianyi. Everyone. I walked to the center of the conference room, my voice not loud, but loud enough for everyone to hear clearly. Now, you have two choices. Continue to support Zhao Tianyi, and then watch your own companies go bankrupt and liquidated. Second, vote against the dismissal proposal, and join me. To make Gushi bigger and stronger. I can guarantee that what you lose today will be earned back tenfold or 100-fold in the future. This is a choice that requires no thought. A few minutes later, the voting results came out. Unanimously passed. The dismissal proposal was rejected. Zhao Tianyi was completely finished, slumped in his chair ashen-faced. He was completely finished. Just then, the conference room door opened again. Gu Qinghan walked in supported by the butler, although her face was still somewhat pale. Her eyes had regained their usual coldness and wisdom. She walked up to Zhao Tianyi and threw a new project proposal that had been prepared long ago onto his face. Zhao Tianyi, you lost that proposal. The prospects were tempting enough to drive every investor wild. This was the backup plan he had prepared long ago. He had completely won over the wavering board members. I looked at him. She happened to look at me at the same time. We exchanged a knowing smile. Gu Qinghan from behind gently wrapped her arms around me. Her chin rested on my shoulder, and there was a hint of a softness I had never heard before. My hero. I turned around, cupped her face and kissed her lips. This kiss was gentle and lingering. No, I pressed my forehead against hers and whispered, I am your man, playing the fool to hide his strength. The story of how he established authority and showed ruthless strength at the Gu Corporation board meeting quickly spread throughout the business circle. It also reached my father and old man Gu. When my father called me, his tone was excited and emotional. You little rascal, you've been hiding deep. I really thought you were nothing but a waste. I smiled. Your son takes after you. There was a moment of silence on the other end. From now on, go and do whatever you want. The He family business, if you don't want to inherit it. I won't force you either. This was the first time my father had given me the freedom to choose. A huge weight finally lifted off my heart. Old man Gu even personally hosted a banquet, inviting me and Gu Qinghan. At the banquet, this old man who had dominated the business world all his life personally raised his glass to toast me. He Chang, before this old man, was blind and underestimated you. For Qinghan to have a husband like you is her blessing, and also the blessing of our Gu family. He downed the wine in one gulp, as an apology for the engagement and his prejudice back then. The two families sat together, the atmosphere unprecedentedly harmonious. They had agreed that it would no longer be a cold binding of interests, but a true deep cooperation between the two families in the future. I finally tore off that label of waste that had followed me for over 20 years. And won everyone's respect. But I found that the one thing I cared about most was always the gaze of just one person. After the banquet, on the way home, Gu Qinghan leaned on my shoulder the whole time without saying a word. The atmosphere in the car was very quiet. I thought she had fallen asleep and wanted to adjust my position to make her more comfortable. "Don't move," she suddenly spoke. I froze. "Hee-chang," she called my name softly. "You're free now," she said. "My father. And your father won't force you anymore. You can do whatever you want. And go wherever you want." My heart tightened sharply. I understood the implication in her words. I turned my head and looked at her. On her face, there was none of her usual dominance and coldness, only a kind of cautious probing and unease. This queen who was invincible in the business world, at this moment, was actually afraid that I would leave her. I smiled. I reached out and pulled her tightly into my arms. "Gu Qinghan, are you stupid? I'm not going anywhere. In this life, I'm sticking with you." In my arms. Her body visibly relaxed. After a long time, I heard her, in a voice barely audible, hum in agreement. Okay, crisis averted. Our life finally returned to calm. Or rather, it entered an unprecedented, sweet pregnancy waiting life. I cancelled all unnecessary social engagements and accompanied Gu Qinghan 24/7. From a spoiled young master who never lifted a finger, I started learning how to take care of a pregnant woman. I searched online. Bought a bunch of pregnancy recipes. The first time I cooked, I almost set the kitchen on fire. The second time, I mistook sugar for salt, and the soup I made was sweet to the point of bitterness. But Gu Qinghan didn't mind at all. Every time, she would finish those dark culinary creations cleanly, and then, where I couldn't see, she would secretly make herself throw up. I knew, but I didn't call her out on it. I just studied and practiced more diligently. Finally, when I made a table of a decent 4-dish 1-soup meal, after she finished eating, she hugged me with sparkling eyes and said, "Hee-chang, the food you cook is the best in the world." At that moment, I felt all the hardship was worth it. We would take walks together in the villa's garden. She walked very slowly, and I carefully supported her. We would read stories to our unborn baby together. My voice was low, hers was clear, intertwining in a strangely harmonious way. I began to look forward to the arrival of this little life. During one prenatal checkup, the doctor showed us the ultrasound image. On the screen, I held my breath. It reached my ears crystal clear. At that instant, tears streamed down my face without warning. An unprecedented sense of responsibility and immense happiness overwhelmed me completely. This was my child, the child of Gu Qinghan and me. Leaving the hospital, I held Gu Qinghan's hand tightly all the way without saying a word. She seemed to sense my emotions. She also said nothing, just quietly stayed by my side, until we got home. In the sunlit living room, I stopped, turned around, and looked at her seriously. "Gu Qinghan, thank you," I said. "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for scheming against me. Thank you for not giving up on me. I love you." This long overdue confession finally made it out. Gu Qinghan was stunned. Her eyes reddened little by little. This was the first time I saw her cry. Not from grievance, not from pain, but from happiness. She stood on tiptoe, smiling as she kissed my lips. "You idiot. I love you too." From a long, long time ago. On the due date, I was even more nervous than Gu Qinghan. She was wheeled into the delivery room. I was outside, anxious as an ant on a hot pan, unable to sit still. Time ticked by. After what felt like an eternity, a loud, clear baby cry pierced the quiet of the delivery room. "Wah!" I jolted. The delivery room door opened, and a nurse came out holding a swaddled baby. A smile on her face. "Congratulations, Mr. He. It's a boy. Mother and child are safe." My mind went blank. Overwhelming joy almost made me unable to stand. I became a father. Gu Qinghan and I had a child. Clumsily, I took the tiny baby wrapped in a blue swaddle from the nurse's arms. He was so small, so soft. His eyes were closed, sleeping soundly. I felt my heart instantly filled with an indescribable warmth. This was my son, the son of the woman I loved. Gu Qinghan was wheeled out. She had changed into a clean hospital gown, half reclining against the headboard. She watched me holding the baby. Looking helpless, with unprecedented tenderness and a smile in her eyes, she reached out her hand to me. "Bring him here. Let me see." I carefully walked over and placed the child beside her. She extended a finger, gently touching our son's soft cheek. "Give him a name," she said softly. I pondered for a moment. Looking at the clear sky outside the window and the peacefully sleeping child in our arms, I said gently, "Let's call him Nyanin. Nyan for longing and for peace. May he have a lifetime of peace and joy, and to commemorate the hard one. Tranquility between us. Nyanin." Gu Qinghan whispered the name. A deeper smile in her eyes. "A good name." She looked up at me. Those once cold and sharp eyes were now filled with love and contentment. My Mr. He not only disrupted all my plans, but also became the sweetest accident in my life. I lowered my head and pressed a reverent kiss on her forehead. "Likewise, my CEO Gu." A few years later, Zhao Tianyi was convicted of multiple crimes and sentenced to life imprisonment. Receiving his deserved punishment, I did not return to the He group but chose to stay in my hometown. Together with Gu Qinghan, we pushed our business empire to new heights. In the business world, rumors circulate that He Chang of the Gu group, once a playboy, is now a more fearsome presence than his wife, Gu Qinghan. On a sunny afternoon, I held He Nyanin, who could already walk, playing on the lawn. Gu Qinghan sat on a rattan chair not far away, watching us with a gentle smile on her face. He Nyanin, in my arms, with his short little legs, staggered and stumbled as he ran toward his mother. "Mommy. Hug." Gu Qinghan opened her arms and pulled the little one into her embrace. She looked up, smiled at me. In the sunlight, the ice had long melted, leaving only endless tenderness. She reached out her hand to me. "Come here. Let me hold my two treasures." I walked over and held both her and the child tightly in my arms. Once, I thought what I desired most was freedom. Now I understand that where she is the only destination my heart longs for. The story ends here. Dear readers, please like and follow. This account will continue to update novels and comics.